I wouldn't say that I have like this magical ear that a child 2 miles east can sneeze and like, oh my God, it's a song.
There's a hit in there.
Yeah. But if I find a fun little saxophone dude, I will very much incorporate that.
I've never heard it called a doot. I'm forever going to. That is what a note from a saxophone is forever going to
It
be
is.
now.
It is. When I perform, I don't look at anyone particular because it kind of gets me out of the zone and I get nervous. Because as soon as you lock eyes with someone, there's like an expectation. Like, fuck, should I do a backflip now? I don't know what there's going to
Should I wave?
Should I wave? So I just kind of.
Zeal Ardor are one of the most unique bands I have ever come across in the music scene. I've been puzzled by, but equally enjoyed immensely so many moments from the discography. Their music spans different genres, and it has moments of quiet and gentle solo guitar picking, but then later on there might be black metal with screaming. It's an incredible dynamic range. And there was a moment recently when I first saw them live at Radar Festival when I was completely floored by what I saw and heard. And now I'm completely strapped the fuck in for this unique project that is Zeal Ardor. And I'm delighted to be joined today by the creator of this project, the songwriter, the vocalist, guitarist, Manuel Gagneux. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, happily. Yeah.
Oh, it's a pleasure on my side. Now, this is such an interesting project for all kinds of reasons, sonically, with what's going on with the recordings, instrumentation, and all that. But I was wondering, how soon after knowing the origin story that you had a couple of genres suggested to you and you created this kind of blend of sound, how soon did you go from, okay, this would be a fun experiment to try and put together, to this might have longevity and legs, this is something I can really sink my teeth into, this really works?
It was very iterative. So like the beginning, it did seem like just let's do this for shits and giggles. And eventually just by being intrigued by what is actually possible sonically, I kind of veer towards this being more serious or something more worth pursuing. But to be precise, 7.8 days.
Great. Good to know. Yeah, did you, I think I heard from another interview you did, I think it was on the Downbeat podcast, it was a while before you played live gigs. So I guess your only barometer for what people would think about this was through the digital means. At that point when you were releasing this, were there things such as reaction channels, or was it largely internet forum, text-based kind of feedback you were getting, or friends kind of listening to it?
I think it was just like I was watching the plays on SoundCloud. I think Fantano kind of began around the same time, but there wasn't really like a media sector, let's say, as there is now. Yeah.
Okay, sure. And then I understand you were this is something you were doing kind of regularly, getting a couple of genres and putting some songs together, kind of at speed, I suppose, for this fun experiment of it. Now that Zeal Ardor has become what it is, I was wondering if the songwriting process has evolved in any stage. Are you spending more considered kind of researcher time and energy in creating the songs that you're creating now, or are you trying to keep more of the immediacy that was present at the beginning?
I think there's something to be said about fucking around or just having fun with it, because that bleeds into a song. Like I have a couple of songs that are unreleased because I overworked them and they kind of lost that immediacy that you just mentioned. But sometimes, there is merit to working longer in something. But I think the biggest change to now versus then is that there's levels of polish. Because there was if you're on 4chan and they say make bluegrass and jazz mixed together, you're not going to take an hour or something like that. You're just going to do it quick and dirty. But I try to maintain that I guess that whimsy or that wonder of the first writing moment as best I can.
Yeah, that is a tricky thing. Do you find ever, if you find yourself overworking a song in your own ideals, can you bench that song for a while and come back to it and keep picking at it? Or do you kind of go, I'm too deep in that one and move on entirely?
Sometimes that works because then there's a new sense of wonder, because there is a point, and this is a personal thing maybe, where I've been working on a song for hours or even days and I don't really feel anything anymore towards it. Mm. And that just kind of feels like a wasted effort. But when you let it sit for a while, like a great cheese, maybe you'll just discover a different aspect of it and you want to do that. Yeah.
In your process of writing, I was thinking, because of the way it started, are you kind of writing and recording at the same time, or do you ever sort of write and then go through a recording process later on? Because I would imagine that would be the moment that could be more further away from the initial spark, and you're kind of, doing takes over again and trying to execute something perfectly, perhaps. But if you're writing and recording and building the song as you go, is that more of how this happens?
I do re-record everything to make a proper release. Sometimes there's still like singular takes that are very good, and you kind of want to maintain that magic. But I also not try not to fall in love with my demos, because I used to do this a lot, where I would just listen to the demos and I'd kind of get accustomed to the way that sounds, and then you go to the studio and it sounds different, not necessarily worse, but it feels there's this I guess difference to it, or just strangeness to it that you can't warm up to. So my trick is just not listening to it for a while.
Right. Yeah, you've rung a bell in my head there. I was in a pop punk band many, many years ago, and we had shitty demos I made in my bedroom, and then we went to studio, recorded it properly. And one of the comments on MySpace at the time was like, "You've ruined this song.
There you go.
Like, the production is killed because it doesn't have the vibe of the demo." And it's like, but I was trying to do something really professional, but you're kind of right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess it's a little bit universal, maybe, or potentially. I don't know.
Yeah. And then, I mean, so I've been delving through more of your back catalog. I've been familiar with the music on and off for the last few years, but it's going through a bunch of it. And I don't know how this happened, but there was one song that I hadn't heard until recently, which was Gotterdammerung, which is an absolute heater. And I'm wondering, are there songs like that where after you have put the labor of love into it and you've recorded it and prepared it and you listen to it in what you would hope would be the finalized form from start to finish, are you just kind of giggling to yourself like, this is fire, people are going to lose their minds off of this? Or do you not necessarily know at
That's
the time?
the funny thing about Götterdämmerung. I wrote that, I'm like, yeah, that's just like it feels like a filler, because it's such a dumb riff. And there's like nothing, I don't know. I think there's a misalignment, because I remember the label saying, we got to do a single out of this. I'm like, no, that's just that's just a filler track, dude. So I guess I'm giggling now.
Fair. Yeah, delayed. No, this or are there other moments in other songs where afterwards you've listened to it and gone, that is so much better than I hoped for, or get a kind of sense of, actually, this, once I feel like I'm finished with it, does it hit you differently to when you're in the process of building it?
I mean, that's the goal, I guess. But to be super blunt and honest about it, like, but at the time by the time it's done, I do not want to listen to that record anymore. Because it takes such a long time, and you work every day on that set of songs for like months at a time. There's gonna be some infatuation lost along the way, or some I guess eagerness, and then you wait for the release to happen, which is another couple of months, and then there's a video which takes a couple of months, and by the time it's out, it's like, yeah, but I mean, we already have new shit now. And it just takes time. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. It's an interesting. Yeah, I guess are you constantly kind of writing? Well, I suppose for this project, you have other projects beyond this, as I understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have moments where you kind of go into a Zeal and Ardor writing mode, or are you sometimes finding yourself writing some music and then going, actually, I have an idea? Maybe it was initially a kind of pop sort of rock song, and then you go, there is something cool I could do with this, but it's a little bit more of the Zeal and Ardor thing. Maybe I'll take it over into that world.
It often happens that way, that it's like mid-process. I decide that could actually be a Zeal and Ardor song. Because I try to be as blind and open as possible when I write. Just, follow what feels good, and not necessarily force myself to make a certain sort of song. Because more often than not, when I try that, it just ends up awful. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have moments where you need to kind of, okay, we need to write some music, and then kind of committing yourself to doing that as a phased process? Or is it something that you can only do when inspiration hits, kind of gradually as you go along?
There's a duality to that, because sometimes under pressure, I make really good stuff. When, say, I had to do like a soundtrack for a theater piece, and there was like a set deadline, and those were like some of the most productive 2 weeks I had in my life. But sometimes it's just, I guess it's also writer's block when you can't really write. But I guess my help for that was just a lot of caffeine, and then it kind of works again. So,
Late nights, early mornings, all of that.
Mhm.
I was surprised to learn from your interview you did with Craig Reynolds. I didn't realize the lore that was involved in the lyricism and the symbolism that goes along with Zeal and Ardor. I had no idea of the concept of, this sort of alternative universe. What if the slaves turned to Satanism to like fight the oppressors? When did that start to become part of this project, or was that a spark from that first song of like, this is maybe a concept I can make this combination work within?
That was actually the reason I wanted to pursue it, because there's like this potential narrative, or like the narrative implications, because there's not like a wiki page on like Extra Life on what the story is. We don't have a Vati Vidya explaining everything, but yeah, that was a part of it from the beginning. But I don't want to shoehorn it in, because I just wanted the music to stand on its own merits. So it's there if you dig, but it's extra credit, I guess.
Sure. Easter eggs for
Yeah.
the dedicated fans to dig
Mhm.
into and enjoy. And one of the things I've really been kind of amazed by with this music in particular is the soundscapes within the songs are quite varied. It sounds like either you have a room filled with all kinds of interesting instruments, or you have an incredible library of MIDI sounds or whatever that might be. Like, what is? Do you have interesting instruments you're now seeking out that might be in the kind of acoustic realm to support the sonic tone of Zeal and Ardor, or are you very much finding those within digital packs that you might have?
I am very much a digital native. So, I mean, there are some instruments that I think cannot be really emulated with computers. But if I find a fun little saxophone dude, I will very much incorporate that. Yeah, yeah. It's just good sounds, I guess. And there's such a magic potential to one single note of an instrument giving it a totally different vibe, that there's a lot of potential storytelling to be done, and I love that.
Yeah. I've never heard it called a doot. I'm forever going to. That is what a note from a saxophone is forever going to
It
be
is.
now.
It is. Yeah.
But you're right, because there's moments where, and I love subtle details in songs. So like there'd be a beat that the kick drum would be hitting out, but there's also matched to that like a low lone piano key. There's almost in like you can't really perceive it as much, but that does change the tone somehow. It gives it a kind of old schooly rustic sort of feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's tons of things like that you can implement. I guess like a simulacrum, to be a douche about a word. Yeah. It's just fun shit.
How have you? Because I think what I would find tricky is there is kind of infinite possibilities, especially when you have all those potential instruments at your fingertips. How do you know when you search through all of the right sounds of a particular instrument to go like that's the one I want? I mean, there's the meme of people going through snare sounds, and then eventually,
Mhm.
oh, that's the one. Are you over time building up a list of sounds that you then go, I love this, I'll use this in a few records over time, and making a kind of a map that works for this project, or are you constantly looking for new sounds to incorporate?
I'd say I'm more looking for new sounds, because I think there's a danger to, building your go-to sounds where you kind of lose flexibility, or there's like not as much not as many things to be explored. Um, but yeah, it's just trial and error. I put the sound into the context and feel if it's good or not. I wouldn't say that I have like this magical ear that a child 2 miles east can sneeze and like, oh my God, it's a song.
There's a hit in there.
Yeah.
Now, I enjoyed, it was a few months back, you stopped by a Twitch stream that I was hosting, and so you had a demo, and you're looking for feedback. I was wondering, how often are you doing that during a writing process? Are you looking for different ways to get other ears and I guess change, or what is it you're looking to learn from that process?
I think there's blunt feedback by sometimes I do like a Smurf account and ask people what they think, because if I go to like professional partners of mine and say, do you like this song, if they have a vested interest in this project, they're gonna have some preconceived notions. But when I, go in a Smurf account and they're like, actually, this sounds like shit. I know they mean it. But, and in the same vein, like if they say it sounds good or they like that and that about it, I can actually take that as quite honest or as honest as possible. But I don't do it that often. Because also when I write a song and it's not quite done and I ask for feedback, there might be like an offhand comment or off the cuff comment of, yeah, but I think like the vocals are kind of weird. And that'll just repeat indefinitely in my head. The vocals sound weird. Oh my god! And I like shelve the project forever. So there has to be some confidence at play before I can put it out like that.
Yeah, I could see that would be definitely a risk. Even if you go, no, that's what I like, you will forever, because we tend to, as human beings, we only remember the negative feedback we get, not all the
Exactly.
praise. Our brain's like, don't remember that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
irrelevant. Yeah. Do you go in with for a particular song that you're looking to get some feedback on? Do you have specific things you're looking to get feedback on? You might not prompt people for them, like, I'm not sure about the transition between the chorus and this. I wonder what that's. Do you have a list of things you're trying to get in particular, or are you looking for general overall
It depends on
response?
the song. I mean, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure if this B part works. Does it seem too, I don't know, too jarring or something? I will ask for that, yeah. And I think there's merit to that. I hope. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that's up to you. Like, essentially, as the artist, right? That's in your core. I think I remember enjoying the demo that you played. I really enjoyed the songwriting of it. I remember enjoying the chorus in particular. But what stuck with me was I think I said something towards the end, like, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to when this demo is, like finally mixed and mastered and produced in a way." And I think your response was, "It's not. There's not gonna be that much different actually in terms of production. This is probably how it's gonna be." I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, yeah. But now that I've heard more of your discography, I could see that within it. There almost seems to be a particular choice to have things sound kind of earthy and authentic in the way that they are, and it's very interesting. I was wondering whether that's something that is particular to what you're trying to achieve with Zeal and Ardor, or is this kind of what you personally like generally the music that you consume or want to create? You want to create something that is more tangibly human in its own way.
I think both to a certain degree. There is a Swiss German word that there's no translation for. It's called verschlimmbessere, which essentially means improve worsening, where you kind of over polish something that there's actually no actually discernible features left to it. And that's something I'm trying to avoid. But like Zeal Ardor in particular has to have like that rawness to it. I'm not opposed to giving care to songs, but it's just also in particular it's the aesthetic of this project that has to be a little bit rugged, I guess, to me.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Have you ever, just for the giggles, as an experiment, gone, let me see what would happen if I like over technically produce something to see what that would be like? And is it as divorced from what you would hope the song to be as you might imagine?
I have, yeah. There's also some Zealand Ardor songs that did take a lot of work and love and care. I mean, they all do, of course. They're my children, but but, it's not that different. I think what I really want to convey is that there's this immediacy to it, and I don't mean that it's been done quickly, but that there's a direct connection emotionally from what was conceived to what you can hear as a listener, and that's the thing I don't want to polish away, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I've heard that mentioned at times, and it's helped me understand why I struggle sometimes with lots of autotune. Sometimes I think as a thematic choice, it can make sense for certain kinds of music. Sometimes I don't mind vocals being tidied up, but I think it's something about the more you have of that, or production in general, the further you will get away from the connective human element of it, potentially. I mean, again, it
Yeah,
depends on the project, but
yeah.
um,
But
that's
again,
cool.
like you said, like maybe there's a stylistic choice where it just
Yeah.
makes sense. Like if 100 gex without that sharp auto tune would kind of sound weird. Like it's if it's a part of the aesthetic, it makes sense. But there's it also kind of I mean there's a lot of like metalcore bands that sound very indistinguishable to me at least because I have an entrenched ear to that genre, and it is in great part due to the vocal processing that they all do. It kind of sounds very similar. And it's a shame because I know these people have different sounding voices, but I can no longer tell, which is, I don't know, it's odd.
Yes. As someone with a trained ear to the world of metalcore, that is absolutely correct. Like, it's probably it's a problem that we're having, because when everyone has high production tooling available to them and they learn from each other, often the guitars can start sounding the same. The drum samples will be kind of similar. Song structures become the same. So it becomes hard to differentiate between them, because the one thing that generally differentiates artists is the humanity within it, I find.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a tricky problem.
Because I mean, like, there's that one snare hit from, is it Misery Business by Paramore? That da snare, bam. That has been sampled by, I want to say, 80% of all the metalcore bands. It's just a cool little tidbit, but it also goes to show that there's this I don't know, like this way things have to be done, I guess, which washes away character. I said that like a fucking boomer, but I stand by it. Just washes away character.
There's truth to that. I totally agree. It's a somewhat related point. What's interesting to see as well is that the Saint Anger snare that was completely ridiculed, and I thought at the time when I first heard it, for good reason, it was an absolutely insane choice by Metallica to have that like conging snare.
Mm-hmm.
But with enough time, that's become quite unique and iconic. So people now want to use that, and people are now embedding that snare into, like, lots of hardcore bands essentially use that snare now.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I guess it takes, to be different is not the easiest choice, and sometimes you'll be the butt end of ridicule. But I mean, at least you tried something, and that's kind of good, I guess.
Yeah, and I rarely see. I mean, not every band will care about this, but I think most might. But I rarely see a band that comes out sounding a lot like other bands have come before, headlining major festivals. The ones that tend to do that are the ones that are the most unique. They're kind of iconic. There's no other band like this band, and therefore you have to go see them headline this festival, sort of thing.
Exactly, because like if you finish that thought experiment, like if you have a band you want to sound like, the best case scenario is you'll sound exactly like something that already exists. So you're not doing the thing, actually, yeah, that's just how I see it.
Yeah, and anything that is a direct like-to-like comparison when it comes to music is going to be a difficult thing to endure, because either you're falling short, or you're just as good and therefore you're an excellent tracer, or can you be better than, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I suppose people could argue that some people have originated a genre and then others come after them and kind of perfected it in some way, but that's
fair to say too. Yeah,
but I think those are but by doing that, they don't do that by sounding exactly like the original band. They take it and do something new with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, almost lost my point there, but we saved it. We got it.
We landed the plane together.
Yes,
we got
yes.
Now, when it comes to the songs for Zeal Ardor in particular, how soon after writing something do you go, oh shit, how do I do this live? Because of, you get, oh, there's a piano in here, I need chain links for that kind of percussive sound. Are you then quickly going, all right, I'm going to use some backing track for that, and then I'll figure out whatever live elements I can bring, like guitar and vocals on top? Like, what's the process like for taking those songs from the recordings into the live context?
Well, it's definitely after that, because I don't want to give myself restrictions for the record per se. If there's going to be a lot of saxophone dudes, so be it, and we'll figure it out later. It's not that hard. I mean, because we do have a lot of backing tracks live, because we don't have a chain gang like going clink.
Yet.
So yet. So it's pretty straightforward. Like, yeah. I think what is the trickiest part is done by our guitarist Tiziano, because I track like 8 guitars, and he has like spider fingers and a 7-string, and he does magic, and all I do is like play the lead and pretend like I make an impact. So I guess the biggest burden is on him. As for the rest of it, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Do you harbor any desire to one day have a full live orchestra for a particular gig, where you try to have as many of the kind of authentic original music, grand piano, whatever it might be, to create that? Or are you kind of going, that's not even a thought in my head currently?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on some movie soundtracks, and then I get to actually have an orchestra, and that is as amazing as it is shit-wettingly frightening to me. It's so cool, but it takes so much, I guess, preparation and intent because you only have them for like a set number of hours, and you don't want to be the guy. You don't want the first violinist to roll their eyes when they see the sheet music. You know what I mean? Because I'm fairly comfortable in the metal world, and I am a fucking tourist there, and I there's so much pressure and I guess anxiety of fucking it up that yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be scared like that. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super exciting. But that's not trivial in any way. Like if you're used to writing for guitar, piano, I don't really know the instrumentation that you have skill with in particular, but I do know even from being in a ska band many years ago, like you have to transcribe the music for trumpet because it's not the same as like guitar tuning or whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
that, but that for an orchestra is even more so. So how do you go about learning to do that? Or is that you build something based on the sound within a DAW, and then later on you go and that can translate somehow by someone to orchestra sheets.
Well, I mean, because like in the DAW, you can have a violin play notes that it actually can't. So what I have is I have a really dorky poster where I see exactly the range of every instrument, which is, I guess, like training wheels. Like if any serious composer were to see that, they're like, dog. But yeah, but it's imperative to me that I'm not. Again, I don't want like the first violinist to go, ah, this cretin. So that's how I kind of gauge it, and then uh, as I do the MIDI uh, arrangement, I also transcribe it into the correct clef and whatever, which
I
is
see.
such an amount of work. God damn it! Like it's so boring, man.
I think there's nothing wrong with having the sheet with all the lining up things like that
Mhm.
because the tool it's essentially a tool at that stage that sheet in comparison because that removes the blockers between you and your creative vision, whatever that might be.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I tell myself when I'm on a
Yeah, that's
keyboard.
what I'm gonna tell
I've
myself
got
too.
A, B, C. It's all there. Now, I was absolutely stunned, as were many who saw the performance at Radar Festival. I had not seen your band perform live before, but it reminded me when I first saw Korn live. I was put in a kind of trance. I just couldn't believe how captivating the whole performance was. Do you have kind of pattern recognition you're seeing in the audience of people when you go like, these people know my music, they're vibing out. These others, they're unsure. They don't know what this is, but by the end, they're kind of like completely in. Are you noticing familiar facial expressions in audiences as you perform for the first time to them, perhaps?
By now, yeah. But I mean, when I perform, I don't look at anyone particular because it kind of gets me out of the zone and I get nervous. Because as soon as you lock eyes with someone, there's like an expectation. Like, fuck, should I do a backflip now? I don't know what there's.
Should I wave?
Should I wait? So I just kind of zone into like the exit sign. um, but yeah, there is some familiar facial expressions, I guess. But there's nothing as rewarding as playing to an audience that doesn't know your stuff and like gaining them. Um, it's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if I hope you don't mind me saying, but it's not the most accessible project in the world. But
Mhm.
to have that translate in that way in a visceral human way live must be a powerful experience on your end.
It is fun. I think a big part of that is that we don't give a lot of breathers between songs because as soon as you see us, of course we drink water on stage and eventually have fun. But for like the first half of the set, I will not crack a smile. I'll just be very serious and aggressive. And in like the last third of it, I will start smiling and appreciating the crowd, and that also has a not too small effect on the audience. We're like, oh fuck, we've been noticed, which is a silly thought to have, but I think it also comes off as more genuine when we appreciate the crowd in actually meaningful way, and I think that's a cool turning point in the set. I don't know.
I love that as a concept. I don't know that that's particularly common for other acts, but it makes sense because at the first half, you've established the atmosphere and the tone that you want your music to live in.
Hmm.
And then you transition to the point where, because I don't want to go see a band and feel like I could have, it feels so perfect. It's like listening to the music loud. Like you want to be reminded this is happening in this moment. There's a tingle in the air, as it were.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was it difficult for you figuring out how to go from your own project you'd build by yourself with all the instrumentation to having your laptop, for example, or guitars, to finding the right people to form the live band with. How challenging was that as a process to make sure that they understood what your vision was and how to kind of carry this thing across live?
Actually, it was surprisingly easy, and that is only due to who the people in the band. They're just local fuck ups like me. They're not fuck ups. I would be the most fucked up, but they're just people from the music scene of Basel, Switzerland. And I just asked them because it was like 5 gigs in the beginning. Yeah, this weird project. It's getting like some weird attention, and I have the possibility to play these 5 gigs, which come along with it. And yeah, they did, and they immediately got what it was about. And now we've been doing this for 10 years, and it's so silly. But yeah, they just got
I love that like it got some weird attention. Like it got legitimate attention.
it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Funnily enough, I have played a gig in Basel, Switzerland. I completely forgot about that place until
Shit.
I heard that you're from there. I was like, I fucking played in
Where?
Basel.
Where? In Hirschneck? Or
I don't remember the name of it. This was about 14, 15 years ago, but it was a small venue with a balcony over the top. Like it was a proper, sized venue. I was in a hip hop band at the time, but Basel didn't feel like the biggest of cities. And yet it has this musical heart clearly within it.
Yeah. It's much like the Netherlands. That was the Koepel, by the way, where the state kind of funds offbeat culture to a certain degree. So there's a lot of funds for silly acts like yours and mine.
That's great. Yeah, I don't know if they still have it, but Ireland, the country of my home, I think musicians are tax free. Like if you're in the arts, because they encourage and value that so much. They're like you don't have to pay income tax on that.
That's because of James Joyce. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, Jimmy. Good on
Amazing. Who are the live acts in particular, if there are some, that you admire and get something from when you see them live? You're like, that's incredible. How do I emulate that in my own world? Do you have inspirations on that level?
It's not necessarily emulation, but I think, for instance, I didn't listen to Deftones like in my youth, but I saw them live once, and it was like one of the best live performances I've ever seen. Gino's so captivating and so genuine and in the moment when he performs and sings that I was floored by that. Other than that, there's this band called Hot Head Show from the UK.
Oh.
They opened up for Les Claypool when they played in Switzerland, and it was like still the best gig I ever saw.
What was it about their performance? What were they doing?
What they did was like they were so entertaining, even like with the lyrics and the quips. It didn't seem too rehearsed, but you can tell they know how to hit, like a comedian. They knew exactly how to pace things. And what stood out to me was that they didn't really directly acknowledge the audience, but they just did their thing. And me, as an audience member, it didn't come off as arrogant to me, but it instilled in me the will to be a part of it. So it was very inviting by not being inviting at all. And that was impressive to me.
Interesting. Maybe the combination of competency and confidence. So you're like, oh, I'm along for this ride. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a similar thing actually, I think, with Chino. There's something about the way he comes on stage and he'll just kind of almost like smile at the crowd. It's like wrapping the mic cord around. It's like, it's kind of non-verbally saying, you're in for a show.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's so fucking
And then
good.
he just runs around. He's like a schoolboy just running around enjoying the fucking heaviest music he can create.
So good. So fucking good. Also, that new record is very, very good.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a fan of Deftones many, many, many years ago when they were the earlier albums, and then I kind of fell away a little bit because they got very experimental and all. This album though has got kind of everything in it. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing them live at some. Why am I talking about this? But yeah,
me too.
They're great. Yeah. They're great. And then in terms of your own music that you enjoy, like because in my introduction I was saying how unique this project is in particular. In order to create something like this and the other mashups and blends you must have done, I have to imagine you have a very wide taste of music and gather inspiration from all kinds of places. Or do you, over time, have a few kind of particular genres of things you enjoy listening to the most at this stage?
I love being positively surprised by music. So I just like good music, man. If it's like jazz or like harsh noise or fucking ska, klezmer, I don't give a shit. Like if there's something intriguing about it, like the best, it's like the stank face thing. I can get a fucking jazz stank face going. Like it'll happen. Um, but yeah, it's a cliche thing to say, but I listen to every genre. I guess. Yeah.
I think the stag face needs to be studied. I think that
Hmm.
is a good point because you're right. It's not only in the metal world. I can hear a hip hop song and be like, oh
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah, 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 yeah.
certain moments.
Hmm.
Now, as I said earlier, there is uh, an experimentation to Zeal and Ardor, which is at times kind of surprising and extreme here and there. But I was chatting to Mike Stringer from Spiritbox about Korn and how when they came out, no one would think like one day they'll be headlining major festivals because it was very unusual, and they didn't really get the um, attention and respect I think they deserved for many many years. So there is absolutely a world in which Zeal and Ardor becomes a massive phenomenon as a band. Is that something that you think about, or are you very much enjoying doing what you're doing, and whatever happens on the line happens?
I mean, it would be nice to grow. Of course, I think about that, but it's not something that I'm not investing all of my stock into that. I mean, happening because to have done what we've been able to do with this and still go, I need more. That seems kind of ungrateful. But I would not be opposed to doing an Oasis style residency at Wembley Stadium. 9 nights in a row? What the fuck, dude? That's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, we'd be open to that. If some Wembley correspondence will happen, I'm not angry.
Yeah. No, I genuinely don't think it is. Linking back to what I said earlier, like the more unique and iconic and different a band can be, I think the more likely it is if you keep going that's an eventuality. And especially when it comes to this project, I find that the more I hear any given song, the more I pick up from it, the more layers I kind of enjoy, and that gives it even more depth. That you, I find I can't grow if I grow into a song, I can't grow out of it. It
Yeah.
doesn't go the other way.
But do you ever like listen to a song to death? Like when you like
Yes,
something and you just kind of have it on repeat and it just kind of washes away?
yes.
When does that happen? Is it because there is like an on off switch there, right?
Yes, but I find it's very rare that happens in a realm where the music is quite unique. I find that is more often the case if there's a pop rock song that I like or a pop
Hmm.
song I enjoy. If I can definitely play that to death and be like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I've soaked this dry. There's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
left
yeah,
for
yeah.
me.
But it's been a fun ride. But I'm done with this
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
Yes. Thank you. The movie's ended.
strange how that happens. But yeah,
Yeah, another thing I'd love to study and figure out. Um, I was also curious because this was not the first kind of blend that you came up with back in the days of the 4chan enjoyment on your side. Were there other combinations and songs that you made in other realms that you thought, given time and attention, one of these could also be a significantly interesting project?
I mean, a lot of them, like 90% of them, were like Mimi. So they were not
Okay.
exactly legs to death metal. Ska actually was one of them.
Oh wow.
Um, like some experiments of that thing that time I took along with me. Shut up, washing machine. We're in the middle of a fucking interview. Rude. But no, I think what I do is also sometimes I write a song like there's a joke, like it's a joke structurally. So you establish like a mood or an instrument or a vibe, and then you subvert it, and they're like, "Oh, wow, why is this here, and why does it fit?" You
Hmm.
know, I'll do that, but like not necessarily. Let's combine two genres just out of principle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find that series of exercises helped you kind of learn some interesting techniques along the way? And then now the exciting puzzle is what can I do next within the realm of the tools that I have and the theme that I'm working with here?
Yeah, definitely. It taught me not to fall in love with songs or like not to see one song as it. This has to do every. This washing machine.
It's fine.
Swear to God, if I didn't have to wear clean clothes. Um, uh, but not to be afraid to call a song done, or to say I've learned something from the song that I'm willing to implement in a new one. I think just that iterative spirit I kind of gained from that. Yeah.
That sounds healthy. And certainly, yeah, because I think it can be quite difficult as an artist. If you look back at your previous work, you'll always think like, but if I did that again now, it'd be so much better, whatever it is. But that was a stepping stone to now. And actually, alluding to my chat earlier, there'll be people who are fans of the band who go like, no, but that's don't touch that. I actually liked that the way that was. I like that it's not perfect or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's a tricky balance.
And it's also a very not helpful thought, I think, when you kind of, mope down the past, because it's like this Ouroboros type situation where you're kind of mooching off of yourself and not really granting yourself the possibility to improve or to do anything new, because those albums, they already exist. They've been done. Like, yeah, it's like when you go, I like them back in the day when they did that. Cool. Go listen to that record. It will always be there.
Yeah.
And maybe the world's a better place when Metallica start implementing some bagpipes. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, though you make a good point. That's something I've been saying to most of my friends for ages. When there are moments where a band will develop a sound away from my taste. It's like that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want the creative minds to enjoy being creative and follow that thing that they enjoy, because I still have these albums.
Exactly.
They're not tainted because of whatever new choice they've made. Like, how would that even happen?
Exactly.
I guess the tricky thing is now in the modern era, people can rearrange things on Spotify, and that you don't really own the album anymore. So that unless you bought a CD, you might not have that album in the future.
Yeah, that is kind of disheartening.
That's odd.
But I mean, luckily, Spotify is an untainted entity in any way, shape, or form, so that's fine.
yeah, totally grand. What has surprised you the most about the reception that this project has had in particular? Because I imagine that this is the kind of music that musicians in particular fucking love. I would assume that you've got some folks who are in rock bands that are quite large who would reach out and say, I fucking love what you're doing. Have moments like that been happening?
Yeah. Especially in the beginning, like there was a staggering amount of support from. I'm like, you don't even know me, man. Who gave you my number? No, like on Twitter. Yeah. There's been, like, I'm not going to name drop. That's so douchey.
No.
Like,
that's not a question.
Yeah. Oh, you said I should name names? Okay.
No, but more like, have there been a couple of moments when you've gone, and it doesn't have to be people, for example, but just like when you've gone, I can't believe that we've got to do this. This is fantastic, and really enjoying it for what it is as a fulfilling ride.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of bands we got to support on tour. Like, we got to play with Opeth and Mastodon and Meshuggah, and also like the audience we managed to form. There's a lot of like queer kids in there. It's just like a lot of outcasts that feel safe or feel and energized by what we do, which I think is like the most rad shit ever. I think that's the thing I'm most stoked on, because that's not really by our doing in a way. That's just kind of how it happened. And I'm really, really glad that happened. Yeah.
You can't choose your fans. They will amass on their own in whatever element. And so you don't know necessarily whether your fans will be very gatekeepy and be like, no, if you don't like this, then you're a heathen. But I suspect that the actual vibe is much more, oh, you like Zeal Ardor? You get it.
Yeah. And it's a very welcoming crowd. Like, yeah, I could go on and on swooning about my audience. But it's cool as shit. And it's nothing we have control of, and it's not even our doing, but it's just something I'm glad happened, I guess.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, is your current series of projects and things you're working on with the orchestra stuff and theater, as well as Zeal Ardor, is this your ideal kind of combination of efforts? Do you like having a variety of things to work on over time, or are you looking to focus in on any one project in future?
This is the only way I can do it, because I would, like I said, I need to have that fascination for something. So I'm always writing music. That's what I love doing. but I need to take like genre vacations or project vacations. If I'm, all metaled out, I guess I can't really have that energy to make an actually angry song happen. So I have to write some softer stuff or like some more conceptually out there stuff, and then come back to it with a new zeal, as it were. Sorry,
Hey.
I had to do it. But I think, yeah, that's kind of very important to me.
Right. And then, as we wrap up this conversation here, what could folks potentially look forward to in the future, or can you say anything about what you might be working on in the Zeal and Ardor world?
Well, we're about to make bounds instead of little tiny steps. We want to make something big, but that is also that's going to take its time. But yeah, just more
Stay
music.
tuned.
I mean, it's always going to be more. Like that's the weirdest thing when guys, what next thing are you going to do? And they start like talking
A
about
magic
it's going
show.
to be life changing. Like it's going to be totally different than it. No, it's going to be an album. It's going to be a fucking album. This isn't quantum physics. Yeah.
Yeah. So announced album. Wow.
Gasp.
So different strokes. Everyone's got different ways to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to whatever it is. As I said, I've enjoyed the creativity that I've been able to hear within the music thus far, and the visceral experience of seeing your performance live. I'm so strapped in for whatever is to come. So
Hell yeah.
thank you very much for this conversation. I've really enjoyed getting to know a bit more of the details behind the music and yourself. So cheers.
This is a nice chat. Thanks for having me, man. Cool.
Pleasure. Manuel Gagneux there from Zeal and Ardor. Check the episode description for links to their social media platforms so you can follow them in future. If you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. There'll be more interviews with great artists such as this coming up very soon. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to submit questions for me to ask future guests, then do be sure to join my Patreon page, where you can also find out who's coming up on the interview list. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.